Hey everybody, Coach Stefan Rudolph here from beautiful Escondido, California. Enjoying life, living life, the light in life. Beautiful sunset here, out here in Escondido, the Hidden Valley. Enjoying it all and being it all. Topic of today, living the new life. Living la vida loca. Living the life, keeping your passion alive, relationships, sex, intimacy. Some good topics today. We have a special guest, Dr. Luz Maria Villanova. And that's the areas that she's going to talk in and be able to bring that light and life together for you, for everyone in passion and in spirit. Being here in the now, living the now, in the moment of now. Own the moment of now and you've won the moment of life. So enjoy this interview with Dr. Luz and go from there. Go now and grow now.
Where you move me with and what happens, and whatever happens, it'll be great.
Yeah, appreciate it, Dr. Luz. It's wonderful to connect with you. Coach Stefan Rudolph, having another wonderful interview. And Dr. Luz, you've inspired me too, because the work that you do as a sex and intimacy coach and everything else, that how you help others. I was researching a little bit more and I saw your website and just really want to chat further about relationships, what you do and how you help others.
Thank you so much, Stefan. I really appreciate this. It's an opportunity to really reach out, especially with today's topic. It's such a reality that we live in. And in these stressful times with the economy and the way life is occurring, we look at historically, and one of the things that people tend to do is go to the alcohol to help soothe what's happening in our reality. So one of the biggest sales during we look at tough times is alcohol.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Escapism. And I lived through that. I've been 12 years sober. So you're talking to the right person. And just finding a way out of our path in life, right?
Yes, it is. And I'm sorry for the viewers. Right now there's this light in the back, so it's a little bit, bright. So it's the beautiful sun comes down, the lighting will be more adaptable. So just want to
Yeah,
let you know that.
this is about how close we are to the sunset. So
Yes, beautiful, beautiful.
Mhm. And some of the work you do, so give me an example or give us an example of how you help others or the average person that comes to you, whether male, female, or do you get a mix, and are they married? Tell us a little bit about the work you do.
Uh, well, I am, as you said, I'm a sex and intimacy coach, and I'm a clinical psychologist. My background is in doing therapy, and also I've been teacher, been a credit instructor at different colleges. So I've taught psychology as well, and I'm a writer, so I write books. So those different things, and I'm really interested in this area of sex and intimacy, and part of the reason is love. So that's what actually got me personally involved. Is I do believe if that we as human beings start to create more connections and experience love, it just starts making a difference in our lives. We just start solving problems when we really connect to love. So now I
Yeah, I
know it
believe it.
sounds cheesy. I know it sounds cheesy for many, but it really is the answer to a lot of our questions because our relationships, we are so much stuck in who's right. We disconnect from ourselves and disconnect from others just to show that we are right, and we lose the opportunity to have amazing, powerful lives because we are so into that phenomenon of being right, and we lose ourselves due to the way we grow up, to this, our dynamics, our culture, our religion, our, demographics, all of those things that we come into this world with. And when we come in with them, and if they're not being accepted, or, in our society, it really has a huge impact. So yes.
It does, yeah. And relationships, as they grow and progress, there's the difficult waves of them, I believe. It's like the first 90 days is the intimacy, the new connection, the great vibe. And then all of a sudden you're learning about each other. And 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, things change again. It's a constantly changing pattern of adapting and then, say, living with someone, moving in, and all of a sudden you're there 24/7 with the person, right?
It really is, Stephen. And one of the things that happens is, at the beginning, everything is pretty organic. We're all in the experience of this biology of dopamine and the rush and oxytocin just flowing. And we're so connected to the joy of the biology of our bodies. And when that kind of the wave starts to run off, we really then begin to see each other, because we get to really explore who we are by looking at ourselves as a mirror with our partner, because we react to what's in front of us. So we start looking at those identities of who we are, the bad, the all these archetypes of the good and the bad in us, and it starts to show up in our relationship. So yeah, we have that going on.
Yeah, it's like a mirror image. And I was in a 14-year relationship from high school on. And then after that, my life fell apart due to the alcohol that you mentioned, due to epilepsy and medical conditions. But there's a big change in life. And a lot of the times when we say those vows, like for better or for worse, rich or poor, sickness and health, it's very difficult once you live through it, to see you can only be there for so long. And sometimes if it's hurting you, which I believe, I never blame my former for that, it was just too difficult when things fell apart. Escapism, um, narcissism, fueling yourself with alcohol, having an intimate relationship at one point, but then losing it due to alcohol and other people out there, drugs, whatever they choose, it destroys it. So we go through this and grow through it. And tell us a little bit more, like if I was to come to you at that point, what do you do to save a marriage or a relationship? Or, if I'm still trying to struggle to save my marriage, what would you be doing, or how would you be helping?
It's really important, first of all, that both individuals want it. There's a
Yes.
difference when, when somebody wants it and the other person does not want it at all, when one person feels forced. And that's really important as we establish the work that I do. And, I didn't even answer the question is I work with individuals and I work with couples. So if I have, let's say, a couple coming in together, and one of them says, I really had enough. I really had enough of this. I don't trust anymore. Because one of the things that happens, the trust gets lost. He keeps promising that he's going to stop drinking. He keeps promising, and then he goes back and he goes back. I just don't trust it anymore. So don't want to do anything about that. So it's really, sometimes you end up working with one person alone, and you just ask the person, can this person just, take some time and, start to doing their own healing while one person gets to work. You get to work with that individual. I don't myself work with alcoholics. With the alcohol, I work with the relationship part of it. So if I have a couple that shows up, my ask is that whoever is dealing with the alcohol goes with an expert with an alcohol, and then they come and work with me when it comes in with the relationship, with the communication,
Yeah.
where do we go from here. So that's where I kind of take off.
Yeah, and that makes sense too, because in my coaching as well, life coaching and recovery coaching, I don't want to be helping somebody. I'm not a fan of it, put it that way, of
Mm.
12 months or less sober. They have to be achieve sobriety and achieve a new life at least for a year, 2 years, 3 years. Because if they're struggling with alcohol and they come to you, and alcohol is the evil part of it. It's the part that you're not really, like, I never cheated on my wife when I was married, but it was cheating in the sense of drinking and friends and going out and socializing, and it was all about alcohol. So when somebody comes to me or they come to you, it shouldn't be for sobering up. It should be more for what they're doing for their partner. Is that correct?
That's correct. Now, I am aware of the impact alcohol, so I do help the partner or
Mhm.
help them both understand how alcohol is affecting the relationship, how alcohol creates the individual who drinks the alcohol. It's just the whole body gets so impacted where it starts to release dopamine. So when they're under the influence, it's a feeling of exhilaration. That's the place where they can feel themselves, because that's the time where they actually live the present. Now, all of this is not their true identity. Is that like an identity, like it's a moment I can be this superhero kind of feeling. I'm drinking and I can pretend this illusion of the world of who I am. So when
Yeah.
they're in that place of drinking, that's this new persona, this new identity they take on. In all of this through time, it starts affecting their body, their bloodstream, their hormones, their testosterone development, their erectile dysfunction. And it's same thing for women. There's alcoholic women. It affects their own desire. At the moment when they're drinking, when they have the persona, women feel or men feel like, oh, they can take on the world. They could have intimacy with 20 different
Yeah.
people and all of these things, but it's just an illusion of it. But that's not the reality, because the body is no longer communicating, because the body dehydrates with alcohol. So you're not
Right.
lubricating it for a woman, or you're not having that bloodstream, so you're not having those erections. You're not releasing the chemicals needed in order for your body to flourish. And then after alcohol, your adrenal glands release a lot of cortisol. So it's not just like during the time that you're under the influence, it's after the fact, because alcohol depresses you. It's a
Yes.
depressant. It's the immediate feel good, but then afterwards you have to go, it goes down, down, down. And when you're going down, your energy going down, you have this, you start the fighting, there's the arguing and again, and it's just, and then you linger out and you don't feel good about who you are. So the only way you start learning to feel pleasure again is when you take alcohol again. So it becomes this body codependency, that's the only way you feel some sort of aliveness in you. So you go back
Yeah.
to the bottle to feel that aliveness. And so you have to stay away from alcohol enough time so your liver and your kidneys can not only cleanse, and your nervous system, but then you have to start healing these organs so that you can then restart producing your own dopamine and your own body juices that it's meant to do, so that you feel okay. But once you start feeling okay, sometimes people leave so much messes with the relationships, with their economy, with just, oh, we can go on and on. So, and I'm sure you can share
Yeah.
some of that stuff.
Oh, it's a fuel for destruction, and it's always a fine line. I compare it like this in life: when you're drinking, you're functioning, you're drinking, and you lose control, but something goes wrong, but you get your control back. So it's this fine line of the breaking point. When did you become an alcoholic? People ask me, and I look back, and it was probably 16. I didn't become it. I always was it. I mean, I was in the sense like the whole time I was drinking. I just thought it was normal because everybody else I hung around with drank like that, 16, 17, 18 years old even. And it was normal. It was a party scene, a drinking scene. And then when you look at normality from another perspective, like, why do you drink so much? I don't drink that much. And it's a constant fight and battle because I'm not like you, you're like me, and alcohol makes you think that you're always in control. And I never was in control. That's the scary thing. You're going back to that fine line where people lose control and they get a DUI or their relationship falls apart, but they blame the officer, they blame the ex, they blame the person, they blame everybody else. And I'll never forget seeing one lady in a DUI class, and she had 4 DUIs and she was going through divorce. And she had an excuse for everything, right? And she didn't get into detail about her divorce, but well, he did this and he did that. It was always the cop was here. People blame other people. So going back, it's yeah, the alcohol is a dilutant to reality. And then we can't face it. And then we need more and we need more. And I used to drink because I was successful and happy and doing everything great, but then I drank to numb the pain. And it was never an understanding like one day it happened. It just happens over time. So it's very scary for people to go through that, right? And that's a lot of the help that you've given to people too. Maybe you've experienced in your relationships or family, right?
Yes, and for one of the things that I look and when I ask is when they're under the influence of alcohol, what is this persona that they want to like take on? Like, who is this superhero that they become while they're under the influence? Can we get them to become that superhero, but not under the influence? Is who they are. And many times the things that they want to become is like successful in their life, and they can't do that because of the influence of alcohol or the consistency of something, or
Yeah.
they lose something. So it's identifying is who is this persona? Can we create this persona they really want to integrate, not be an illusion, but truly be themselves without alcohol? And that's sometimes one of the things I find that it helps when I work with my clients is like when they say, well, yeah, I do like that person who I am. Well, tell me who this person is that you are. I just
Mhm.
feel more free. I feel more
Yeah.
alive. So tell me how that experience is for you. I can talk to others. Okay, so
Mhm.
how does it feel and look like for you?
Excuse me.
So then, so then, so then, we say, okay, how about if we create this in real life? How do we start taking small steps in real life to get you to speak up a little bit more, to get you to be more interactive with the world, to get you to be more comfortable with the world, or maybe to get you to trust, or maybe it's the issues that you didn't deal with your mother or your father or something done in the past. Maybe let's work on that to start healing that. So this person that you know you're meant to be can really come without the need of alcohol. Getting on a high of life for yourself, for the existence of, without it. And that sometimes, gets people excited.
It does, and it's you function for a while on alcohol, and you function intimately, but then after a while, even when I was 32, 33 years old, I thought I was having erectile dysfunction. I thought I was having problems because of a relationship that I'd been in for so long, but things weren't working the way they used to physically for me. But I didn't ever once think about, well, what about what I'm drinking and eating? I never changed my life. I was very successful financially and ate well and drank well, put it that way, but it was too much. And then they all the doctor did was give me Viagra, give the person Viagra, and say, here, okay, try this. Well, what about what you eat, what you drink, how you sleep, the intimacy part of it, meaning like the relationship, the connection, the communication, giving and receiving, not just being intimate for 20 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever, whatever happens in the bed. But it's not just for that fact, it's for the fact of love and intimacy to come there. And I really believe in this now that I've experienced it physically on a sober level for 12 years to say what alcohol does is dilute the chemistry. And for me, being single for the first time, it was just about being intimate at the bars or physically seeing somebody. But then later in life and sobriety, it became mentally, emotionally connecting, spiritually, the vibe, the feeling, right?
Yes. It's really true. And people do not know how to do that. The only time they know how to do that is, again, under the influence of alcohol.
Yeah.
And it is a journey. It is a journey. I'm not gonna, sugarcoat it for people. And the first part of the journey is their own body. It really is about the self. The first part is dealing with your own health. And like you said, you're eating and exercise, because part of what you need to do is, like for the men, rebuild some of those levels of testosterone that were lost. Bring back, your blood pressure, your cardiovascular system, your drinking, all of that to your nerve. There's any nerve effects, if there's any nerve damage, and then you have to go to specialists. But if you saved all of that, then you need to heal within your body. You need to see how the alcohol did affect your body, and you need to heal that. And as you do that, you start producing your own chemicals. And things I suggest to people are things are fun. So I think a lot of people think when you get to work, everything is bad. I Some of the suggestions I give some of my clients, I find out what they're good at, what they enjoy doing. Now, at the beginning, let's say for them is playing an instrument. So they love to play the guitar, but playing an instrument they haven't done in a while, so they're not feeling good about it. So we take it slow at a time. We'll say, okay, it's okay. Let's just build a little by little until eventually you start enjoying, you start feeling good. And once you start developing that feeling good about, oh my God, I got this, your whole body chemistry starts to change. And then I suggest, okay, join a group for fun, like go out there and, because with men, when you do a little bit of the competition, you start actually releasing some of those testosterone levels. So your adrenals will do that. So it's coming up and doing things that bring joy and fun to something that they left behind,
Yeah.
exercise. So those are the things that sometimes, they're out there to do that will start recreating the person.
You start diving in deep too, and upon sobriety and upon a view, I became more attracted to somebody intimately, to see a woman that was, say, in yoga and did meditation, was at the beach, was all spiritual, and was like, where did this come from? And you discover new paths and new ways of attraction. And I do feel that I know for a fact, our cells, like you talked about earlier, they change every 5 to 7 years. Our body's completely different. So also the attraction, we may think, well, I like this type of woman. I like a brunette. I like this, or whatever, whatever I want or feel physically. But there's also the chemistry, they call it, right? The chemistry of what she said to me, or how she said it, or how she looked, or she, smiled, right? So there's a
Yes.
lot of energy there too, right?
Yes, and part of it is to discover your own love language. Part of
Yep.
the work that you end up doing is discovering your own love language, discovering individuals different. And I'm using the word discovery because I really believe in that word. I'm going to meet this person and I'm going to discover something unique about it. So I'm not looking to what's wrong. I'm going to discover something unique. And that's what I tell my clients, like when they're in this healing process and they're ready to go out on a date, go out there and discover something interesting. Just discover something that you like about this person. Doesn't mean you're going to stay there, that's what it is, but you're going to come out looking at the world with a new eye. And you start identifying different things about humans. It's, oh my God, this person smiled a lot and made me feel much at ease. I discovered that my love language is acts of service. So when somebody does that, I get to share that and they get to create that for me. So life becomes a different journey. It really does. And it's a
It does.
discovery. It's a fun
You have to, I
experience.
call it also in coaching and speaking and my book, I say uncover, recover, discover life. So you have to uncover it, recover it in portions of it. I don't want to recover what I killed, but I can't live in the past. So a lot of people live in the past and want what was and focus on what will be, but they don't discover what is. How's that? And a lot
I
of it,
love it.
yeah, a lot of it is saying, well, I had this, and I'll never forget a dating profile one time I saw years ago when I first started dating sober, and this lady on there said, "Please don't live in Temecula, north of us here." I'm like, and anyways, we connected, and that was on the profile. And then when I talked to her, I guess she had a bad relationship with a guy in Temecula. Okay, so all men in Temecula are bad. It's like, and classifying that, and then I've also said, hey, I'm sober 5 years, 10 years, whatever, and I'll let a lady know that. And some women have just go, oh no, I don't want that, and because they had such a horrible relationship, maybe you can dive in a little bit of that, because living in the past, they're always, not they, but me too. Anybody can do this, but discovering, pulling back what was, and not being able to, put a closure on it. Does that make sense? Or maybe you can.
Does. Part of it is healing. Healing our own past experience is such a need, Stefan. If we
Uh-huh.
don't get to heal our own past experiences, we don't get to live in the present and the present for a better future. Because we live the world with caution, caution, caution. So we're constantly looking at others with these glasses of caution.
Yeah,
Yeah,
horses.
yeah. So that's the thing, you don't get to see that. And I can see where somebody may say, you know what, because of my past experience, I'm feeling kind of eerie, but let me get to know you a little more. Let me see where this goes. And this is a conversation to be had with this woman. Like if when the woman or a man, I mean, women also are ex-alcoholics. And then there's
Yeah.
some people that don't like to go out because they like to drink.
Yeah.
And
They drink at
they
home.
yes, I have some friends, personal friends who are ex-alcoholics, and they have a hard time finding relationships because they don't drink.
Yeah, I have a close friend that has gone in and out of jail throughout his life, and I don't keep in touch with him too much. I know he's not going to be on watching something like this, but I have learned from him because I stopped in my life, when it was successful. And by 2002, I had a pharmaceutical career, marriage, $1 million home, everything. By 2005, I was living with my parents, and I was facing brain surgery with epilepsy, and I had two DUIs, and I destroyed everything overnight, and I ended up 11 years of multiple DUIs. I had four DUIs, and this friend connecting back, I finally stopped. I finally woke up and I stopped, and I changed my life and my dating. It was difficult at first because dating to me before was always alcohol. Everything was alcohol. And he has a problem with this. So every time he's 2 years sober, a year sober, 3 years sober, whatever it has been, he ends up drinking again because he can't function on dates, he says, meaning like either sexually or it just doesn't it's he can't get over that. If he goes out, he
Yeah.
has to drink wine. He has to have, that's probably something you'd work with a lot in, right?
Yeah, it is. For example, like generally what happens when you have like a first drink, it gets your parasympathetic nervous system. You get a little relaxed and your inhibitions start kind of to move away. So that allows kind of this permission, like I said, like this super persona that you develop. So kind of relaxes you. So it's good. But what happens is when after that drink, and if you believe that it was just the drink that allowed you to, and once you no longer feel the effect, then you say, I think I need another one.
Hmm.
So then you say, it is the drink that really is allowing me to talk and be able to have this conversation. And if you can understand that the words coming out of your mouth and the
Yeah.
courage is yours, that if you can create that without the alcohol. But yes, at the beginning, for some individuals just one drink is pretty cool and they're fine, but it's the second one, and then the third one, and then once you get that, you have that alcohol that goes in your body, and once it goes in there, you dehydrate, and once you
Yeah.
start dehydrating, your bloodstream, is being impacted. And therefore, you're going to have erectile dysfunction, for some of these men, and for women also, it affects them. So they need to understand the biochemical of alcohol. And really, they're better off taking a coaching class on how to be more assertive, how to connect with somebody on a date.
Yeah. Dating coaching.
Dating
Yeah.
coaching. Yeah.
Yeah. People, and we've all experienced it in one way or another, a bad relationship or just not getting along or the relationship dissolves. And I can't think of one couple, well, maybe one back in the day, but where they met at a bar and they're still together, 20 years later. Usually that doesn't work that way, but there has to be, like you said, the five love languages, or what I say, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, like having a good foundation in life and having those grounded areas. And then being able to, in AA, they call it a plant, a pet, and a partner. So in the first 6 months, you shouldn't have any type of relationship in the first year, they say at least, but have a pet, have a plant, water that plant, take care of it, maybe have a garden, and then get a pet after a year and then a partner after 2 years. So in the first 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, this is kind of the steps in sobriety is take care of yourself. Love yourself first before you can love others. And take care of your new self. Put your old self on the shelf, I call it. And don't look back, but don't forget about the past. And you also said things like what I said earlier, uncover, recover, discover life, but also the new way is to be able to create a new life and be thankful for what you've been through. So the hardest thing is we live in the past, right? And it destroys us. So,
Yeah, very
mhm.
true.
Yeah,
And it's using that past to help us understand that we don't have to be there, that we do have a choice. Somehow we feel that we don't have a choice. And when we do live in the past, we give up our choices. So if we think about that way, it allows us to say, do I want to give up the choice, the opportunity of a new life? What am I willing to take on and, see life differently? And those challenges are the biggest discovery and growths. And those are make like even like the best books and, the best movies and the best life.
Yeah.
Because when you really learn from your past and you move on and you put it on your shelf, as you said, and only to remind you not to go back there and live life newly.
Yeah. Put your old self on the shelf and the past is now past. Don't live in the past. Otherwise, you'll never get out of it. Depression's
Yeah.
back here. Anxiety is up here. So, depression, we live in the past. We never get over it. Depression. And if we're worried about what's going to happen, where we're going to be at, that's anxiety. So, I discovered that too. And the areas that medication, what it can do for you. But at the same time, if we're on it for so long, we're not coming out of our into a clairvoyance of a new life. So I'm not against medication, but sometimes we get so wrapped up in I need this for pain and this, and we're on 3 or 4 medications. And guess what? All my medication when I had epilepsy as well, it said do not drink alcohol. I did that for 15 years.
Oh
Tegretol,
my God.
Depakote, Keppra, Lamictal. They all said there's always the alcohol is
No
the
alcohol.
factor.
Yeah,
No alcohol.
totally.
But I was so
No.
functioning. I really think that the problem, if it would have been if I got off alcohol, which happened later, but it was like constant. It was just 2 or 3 beers a day, 5 or 6 on the weekends, and it was just all the time. Going back to what people do, they need to change their life and look in the mirror in order to see what's going on.
And one of the things, Stefan, is again this addiction to the dopamine. And we live life either on the end of the spectrum, either feeling really high about something or very depressed about something. So we live. And when people start to heal or people start doing life or become more spiritual, they actually live in the center, which is more where peace. And people are so uncomfortable with peace, they define it as boredom. So they feel anxious, this gotta do, gotta do, gotta do.
Yeah.
So then they start doing something to pull them in one direction or the other direction. The drama part, the depressed part, or the high level of out here, more of a living a life of more bipolar life that I say. But the
Mhm.
the middle, which everybody talks about peace, people are uncomfortable living in that space of peace. They don't know how to ground themselves in that space of peace, of spirituality. What does that really feel like? And enjoy it. It's very foreign to people. And that's
Yeah.
something I work with my clients because they all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm just so bored. I said, because this is where you see life at one or the other. And peace is now defined for some people as boredom.
I know, and it's interesting because I experienced that boredom, but then I realized the ego is fueled by alcohol. So alcohol is a fuel for ego for I want to do this, I want to do that, more, more, more. It's a dopamine rush, like you said. And I gambled too. I was going to casinos, gambling, more dopamine, extensive, like just winning and that rush. That's why alcohol and gambling go together for many people that are in escapism and they can't get over it and they're like I'm bored. And the aha moment I had, sadly but in a good way now, 12 years ago, was in jail. I was in jail for a DUI facing prison time, and I didn't do it luckily, but 6 weeks in jail woke me up to see inmates coming in that had major drug problems, okay, gangs, drugs, everything else. But one in particular couldn't sit still. He was just wanting to go back out and use and drink, and he blamed everybody else. But he was I was there and I was accepting of it. And I wasn't bored, but I was like scared straight. That's what I said to myself. And I'd rather be bored than in jail. How's that? That's what I don't want to be back there anymore. But boredom went away because I accepted the fact that alcohol is not an option. It's not an option to escape anymore. It's not an option to blame others. It's not an option, in every area. It destroyed my relationship, you know, in every area. So being able to go back to what the work you do is helping others achieve, I think, a new normality is what I like to say too.
Yeah. So then you start building intimacy and connection,
Yeah.
and the joy of it. What does it even look like? Where they get to explore this life of joy and eroticism on a daily basis. and they both,
Mhm.
as a couple or the individual, get to discover it newly. Like, what would it look like? Okay, well, for some people, it's like, I really enjoy like walks on parks, walks by the beach. And some people, like, I just really get connected when there's an amazing conversation. Some people with the music, everybody has a little something you get to share with each other, watching some movies and eating the popcorn and laughing, because our body does produce a lot of these own chemicals that create a lot of joy for us.
Yeah.
Intimacy, sexuality, oxytocin, all this dopamine, vasopressin. Both men and women produce that during intimacy, prior even to sex. So
Hmm.
it's, and feeling that, acts of kindness, doing service for others, making a difference, the joy in giving, the joy of doing for others. So you start seeing those things, making a difference, and you start looking at life different, so that create your new superhero. That's what I say.
What's that? Car? Yeah. Oh, okay. I got the ranger calling on me, closing the gates. So that's part
Okay.
of life. So, but I appreciate it, and thank you for everything you've given to us and shown us here. And everything happens for a reason. So the park ranger coming over, telling us about sometimes we have to just end life right away. That point in our
Me
life
too.
has to stop and has to go now and grow now. So I appreciate your time, Luz, and tell us also how we can get a hold of you.
Yeah, well, they have this book, Let's Talk Sex and Money, that I created as a consequence of working with my clients. These are two topics that need to be talked. You can look at my website, is Discover Passion with Dr. Luz, and it's Luz. Discover Passion with drluz.com. And you can set up an appointment there to see me and talk to me. And let's create a your own superhero without the use of alcohol, and develop that and find joy of life.
In every way, and I appreciate that. And I'll put the links in the description down below too on the YouTube channel, and then you'll be able to share this with people and they can connect with you. And being able to, I mean, I grew up here, by the way, and I used to play baseball back in the day, back, 10 years ago, maybe, no, I'm sorry, 40 years ago. And everything that we're blessed to have, I'm blessed to have a car. I'm blessed to have insurance. I'm blessed to have little things, the ability to drive, the ability to function, the ability to stay sober, the ability, to just be thankful in life for the little things in life. And then that
Yes.
also helps. And I believe in intimacy. You have to love yourself first before you can love others. Right.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, that's the
Very
biggest
true.
that's the biggest part I learned. And it wasn't just ego. Some people say, "What do you mean love yourself? What are you talking about?" You have to love even if you destroyed your life. I had everything financially and I wasn't loving my life. I didn't even know who I was because it was so diluted by alcohol. And
Yeah.
so I finally discovered life about who I wanted to become and the passions we have. So people
Yes.
can get a hold of you, Dr. Luz, and find their passion, especially with a partner and saving a relationship or just discovering who they are so they can love themselves. Um,
Yes.
who was
And
that?
that's what I'm about. And that's what I'm about, is have people discover passion in
Yeah,
their lives. And it's not just in the bedroom, it's outside of the bedroom, where they can find a life worth living. Purpose, a life with purpose.
I didn't know what sapiosexual was too, so I discovered that word one time on a date, and that's basically loving, being attracted to someone that is very intimate, right? Like having a strong attraction to their intellect. Sorry, that's what it is,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
intellect.
that's what it is.
Yeah,
Intellectually, someone that you can have a conversation and what they have to share and communicate at the end, that they're intelligent individual finds it very attractive. Yes, totally.
yeah, exactly. Well, I appreciate it, and I'll put the link in the description to get a hold of you as well. And any last words you want to say?
Just, look, there is something you can do in your life. Don't let it allow you to take over you. Seek help. It's okay. And
Mhm.
so whether it's me or whether it's someone else, it doesn't really matter. Just seek help. Get the
seek
support.
help out there. Yeah. And don't give up on life. And, everything is a big shift and change. Like I said earlier, I call it the 7-year shift or the holy shift in life. Every 5 to 7 years, we change, we grow. They told
Yeah.
me it was the 7-year itch. And ironically, I dated for 7, was married for 7. And by 7 years later, after my divorce, my life was a mess, but I sobered up. So keep in mind that there is a shift and change out there, and people like you are there, Dr. Luz, to help others, and we're there. Never give up, just change and grow and go from there.
That's the way it be.
All right.
So
Thank you.
thank you.